What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel today. Week 3 was awesome. I hope I'm the only one that got completely dominated by Jawan Jennings, but sometimes that's gonna happen in fantasy. If you haven't been to the channel before, like the video, subscribe if you enjoy what you're watching. What I'm gonna do today is go over some reactions to week 3, some guys on my buy list, some guys I'm gonna be telling you to look forward to in the future, a couple sells, and then a rookie spotlight today. I'm going to use game film as well as some information we've learned. So thank you guys for tuning in. So let's get this kicked off with my buys for week 3. First one's going to be Bucky Irving. Now, I've been a big candidate of the sell Rachaad White train all the way back to May, all this offseason. I just personally think he's a fine player. I've never thought he was super special. I didn't really think he was a very efficient guy. And the more we've seen Bucky Irving, I'm just starting to think he is a better football player than Rachaad White. Now, I'm not saying he's going to start taking over this backfield in some sort of 70-30 split, but it's starting to look pretty 50-50, and Bucky is just producing more than Rachaad White at this point. So I'm going to buy into that and see if maybe Bucky can turn into something. You could also take this as a sell Rachaad White take, but I think that's going to be a little more difficult just because he hasn't really been popping much. But with Bucky Irving, man, the dude just makes some big plays. I loved what I saw watching some of his tape from this weekend. Next is going to be another buy. That's going to be Darnell Mooney. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be the number one weapon on this Atlanta offense, but now this is back-to-back weeks, both in primetime, where he's been very good. Mooney has always been a great route runner, and Cousins is just finding him in some key situations. I think he's a great guy to have on your fantasy team if you got to plug someone in a wide receiver 3 and a flex, bye-week fill-in kind of guy. He may be out there on some waiver wires, or you may be able to get him as a toss-in on some sort of trade. But Mooney's a great route runner, and he seems to be involved in this offense with Kirk Cousins looking at him. He's going to continue to get one-on-one coverage too. Obviously, London, Bijan, Pitts. No one is putting the safety over top Mooney too frequently when watching these Falcons play. So I think there's some sneaky upside for Darnell Mooney. He is a big play threat, and I think you could do a lot worse than having him on your bench, having to start him in kind of spot starts for your fantasy team. Something else I want to go over today is going to be some players that I do not want you to forget about moving forward. Through the first 3 weeks of the season, the Vikings have looked absolutely amazing. What's that meant? Jefferson's done exactly what we thought. Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler look like a great backfield duo. But a couple guys that are not currently playing in those games for Minnesota are TJ Hawkinson and Jordan Addison. Now, Jalen Nair has produced fairly well throughout the first 3 weeks of the season, but I don't really think he's going to hold off Addison and Hawk from getting some of their targets. So if you can get Addison, waiver wire, trade, Hawk, waiver wire, trade, who really knows where these guys are at this point in the season? Sometimes people do some strange stuff and will drop injured players due to a need at other positions. So these are guys I want you to keep in mind that I'm not saying they're going to play next week. I don't know the timeline for TJ Hawkinson. I do not know the timeline for Jordan Addison. Obviously, I'd probably expect Addison before Hawk, but keep these guys in mind. If Sam Darnold is playing this well and just running Kevin O'Connell's offense, I'd expect these Vikings to be usable throughout the season once they come back, and I'm actually a little excited about them. They're both very good players. I think we all thought there'd be a fall off with Kirk Cousins, and it really just has not seemed like that. So now I'm going to get into my sells for the week, and both of these guys are in very similar situations. They're just crowded backfields with not very high efficiency, and I really just don't want to be playing this game. First one's going to be Javonte Williams. He's basically just being outproduced by Jaleel McLaughlin. Tyler Batty made an appearance, had some very big runs for Denver in their win this weekend, and I just want to stay away from this backfield. I've never been a huge Javonte fan since the injury. He just doesn't really seem to have the burst. He's not taking advantage of being the guy who we thought maybe could take advantage of this backfield. So when it comes down to it, I think Sean Payton's just going to keep rotating guys in and out in Denver, and I want to stay away. I'm not saying you're going to be able to get a lot for Javonte, but there are still Javonte believers. I know they're in every league. When you try to trade for him or you ask about him, you can tell there's guys that still really think this guy could be something. Find that person, try to get a usable asset for your team. You know, Javonte for Bucky Irving may have sounded crazy to start the year, but I would start to think Bucky Irving's going to outscore Javonte week 3 or starting week 4 on. The next one's going to be Alexander Mattison. Now, Mattison actually is RB21. I think it was half point I was looking at. You know, he's gotten in the end zone, but he hasn't been super efficient. He is involved in the pass game, so I'm not saying he's some terrible player. But once again, I just think this Raiders backfield is something to stay away from. Amir Abdullah found himself in and out of this game, playing some snaps. Zamir White hasn't been great. Never been a big Zamir White guy, but he is getting some touches. And I don't know if there's going to be enough points scored from this Raiders backfield to find this sort of split really advantageous for any one player. So I'm selling Alexander Mattison. I'm staying away from the Raiders backfield. I'm staying away from the Denver backfield. And just to finish this video off, I want to do one more segment. I mean, you could call this a buy. I'm not saying these guys are going to be buyable because they've been so freaking awesome to start the season. But how about a rookie spotlight for Malik Nabers to start off, man? This dude, absolute alpha, came out and has basically just had 2 monster weeks, was even flashing week 1. Nabers making big plays in the end zone for the Giants. Obviously, we thought Daniel Jones may hold him back, but when you're getting this sort of target share, you're not going to be held back. So hold on to Malik Nabers. Next, Marvin Harrison Jr. had the stinker week 1, has came back with back-to-back bangers. This guy's the #1 weapon for Kyler. You can tell it now. Week 1 was the anomaly. Moving forward, I'd expect more of what he's looked like these past 2 weeks. He's getting open. He's getting jump balls. He's being targeted in the red zone. Everything you want out of a starting wide receiver 1 for your team. Last one, Rome Odunze, off to a slower start. Didn't really do much weeks 1 or 2. Week 3 came alive, a huge performance, gets into the end zone. Now, Keenan Allen was out, so let's see on that injury. Let's see what happens kind of in this Bears wide receiver core if Caleb Williams can keep putting up some more passing numbers. The Chicago offense, I think, is still going to take a while to get going. But you have to be impressed with how these rookie wide receivers has shown through the first 3 weeks. And moving forward, Odunze, probably more of a wide receiver 3 flex guy, but Nabers and Harrison every week starts. You're not keeping these guys out of your lineup. They're too good, they're too involved, and they're proving why they were top 10 picks, not even later half top 10. They were top 6 picks, both of them. So absolute studs on your team, and hats off to you if you drafted these guys and took the risk on potential high upside plays. I know we spoke about them a little this summer. I have some shares, you know, really dependent on draft slot a lot. But thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you take my buy, sell advice. Don't forget about those Vikings. Check in later this week for Flex Friday, Dynasty video on Wednesday. Feel free to go back and watch some of my other vids to keep me accountable. But comment below, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'm going to keep coming at you with 3 videos every week. We're going to win you your league. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you later.